All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Unlock the Power of Your Mind. Today we have Mike Fallat with us, entrepreneur, Amazon best-selling author, and founder of DreamStarters University. Mike, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
I really appreciate the opportunity, man. It's now that I know you're working on your book and getting this thing out there, I love to talk to your audience and maybe help other entrepreneurs who are in the same boat. So thanks so much, man.
Awesome. Great. So why don't we start off with just a little bit of your pedigree information, a little bit about kind of your early childhood, just for a few minutes so that the listeners can get to know more about Mike.
Yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I am to this day. I work out of my house. My writers and marketers are all over the U.S., but I work out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And basically, grew up working at gas stations, convenience stores, restaurants. The guy who changed my life was my first employer. He was this entrepreneur. I looked up to this guy. He obviously drove nice cars, had a big house, very successful, all kinds of properties. And I kind of watched everything that he did and how he handled every situation. And I knew it right around maybe when I was 18, 19 years old, man, I want to be an entrepreneur someday. Of course, I didn't know where to start or how to begin or, who to talk to. I just saw this guy. And he told me to go get my real estate license when I got out of school. So boom, went and got my real estate license. As soon as I was a real estate agent, bought my first 4-unit building. I was off and running at 23 years old. Took that money and started investing in different companies, software companies, little startups that I had. Failed. Eventually became successful with a company called Doggy Surprise, which was like a art box, a shipment of toys and treats for your dog. And once that was successful, people started coming to me and say, hey, how do you start a business? So I started helping people and really being a consultant for others until I realized I was not getting the media attention, no speaking gigs. Nobody was coming to me. I was still fighting for clients. And once I realized the key to it all was putting a book out there. I wrote a book called DreamStarter. And all of a sudden, people started calling me. Attention on social media ramped up. People invited me to be a speaker at their school. And I realized that's the key. If I would have wrote a book 8 years prior, I would have saved a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, and I would have gone a lot further. So now I help other entrepreneurs write their books to use as a marketing tool to get further in their own career.
That's incredible. So tell me a little bit about your mindset of what happened when you were failing in some of those other businesses. Why didn't it work out, and what did you learn?
Oh, man, I failed so much. The reason why it didn't work out in the beginning, and I write this in my first book, because I didn't have vision. All I wanted was money and fame and having this freedom lifestyle. But I didn't know exactly what I wanted to position myself as the expert in. Yes, I wanted the entrepreneurial lifestyle, but I still didn't know what that meant. My vision was completely screwed up. I was in the wrong vehicle. So whenever you're trying to do something, you don't know where the end goal is going to be or what you're trying to reach for, you're going to make the wrong steps because you're just going to keep making, decisions based off emotions. And what you need to do is make decisions based off of where you want to end up. Reverse engineer your life. And once you have the picture in your mind, what changed my life was writing my dream obituary. Did I really, really want to become the doggy shipment guy, or did I want to become the marketer at heart? Did I want to help other entrepreneurs do the exact same thing? That little piece changed my direction. I said, you know what? I need to focus on the end goal 10, 20, 30 years from now and reverse engineer that back to where I am today. Am I making the right steps? As soon as I started to realize that, my life changed. So that was the biggest piece.
Wow.
And then simplicity, Ryan, it's the next thing. Everything I did was trying to be bigger than I really was and trying to make myself look like a huge company. I was trying to do too much, get the best accountants, get the best attorneys. All of that drained my bank account. It just complicated everything. And once things get complicated, you as the entrepreneur are just going to start to make really bad decisions because your mind's just going to be a mess. So vision and simplicity were off in the beginning, and I finally fine-tuned them as the longer I stayed in the game.
Wow, that's incredible. They say a ship that doesn't know what port it ultimately wants to go to is going to get lost at sea, no matter how great the ship is, right? So.
Damn right. Same with a pilot and airplane. You can have the best airplane, the best pilot. If they're not going in the right direction or where they're going to be, where they want to actually end up, they're going to get lost. It doesn't matter about the vehicle. It doesn't matter about the pilot. You have to know where you're going.
Sure. What a powerful message. So you wrote your obituary?
Yeah. See if I thought I ever had the book where I wrote the first obituary in. But yeah, I sat down and I started thinking about the end. Am I on the
Sure.
So I wrote down, helped entrepreneurs. He was the best at marketing in certain areas, and he did this, and he helped out, this with his family, and he was a great friend. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm not on this. This is not me right now. I have to get on this path. And so the obituary was sort of like the big piece to this, like putting the wheels in motion. Like it really gave the wind in my sails for me to go after who I wanted to chase. Matthew McConaughey has an amazing speech out there. You should always be chasing someone, and you should be chasing that dream vision of yourself every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you come up with the idea of DreamStarters? How did this business come about?
Well, once I started getting questions all the time about, hey, how do you do this with business? What would you talk about with Evasion Simplicity and demand and customer service? And, I started putting that stuff down in the book. And DreamStarters, the name itself, all you're doing when you're starting a business is starting your dream. So that's why I created that name with it. And the book part of it all was, it was sort of like when you're cooking a pie and you're missing the major ingredient of how to make that pie. The book itself was my major ingredient. So if it was my major ingredient, maybe it's somebody else's out there. Maybe it's a lot of entrepreneurs. 3% of people who start a big book ever really finish it. Why is that? Because life gets in the way. They make these bad decisions of, I want to become this. And so they start writing in a different direction. Then they change their mind halfway through it. And then they just don't have the discipline to sit down and write every day, because when they're an entrepreneur, so much is on their plate that it's very difficult to prioritize everything.
Sure.
So if I could simplify that whole equation somehow, I could give the entrepreneur the best chance possible to succeed. And so once I knew the book was the key, how can I simplify it? Okay, well, I have to hire writers, I have to hire marketers, and we have to create a system. We have to create certain templates, certain font size, certain spacing, stuff that takes all the BS decisions out of it, because people only really care about your backstory and the lessons you have to teach. That's all. If you can get that stuff down on there in a real clear form, people are going to fall in love with you, which means they're going to fall in love with your business eventually.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm sure you've worked with a lot of different entrepreneurs, right? Share with us.
The people I get to meet, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine. So share with us some of those entrepreneurs that obviously you built a relationship with that impressed you the most, and what did you learn from them?
Oh, man, there's a couple of big names that stick out to me. I mean, even people who you've probably never heard of, but their stories are just so incredible. Number one, there's a guy in New York City. I don't know if most of your audience is in New York or New Jersey or whatnot, but there's a man named Anthony Lawley who gave me a chance to help out with the marketing and turn his book into a bestseller last year. And once I got to know him and learn his story, this guy really did come from nothing. If you look at my tagline, it's all about started from zero. And I really want to give every entrepreneur a chance. And once I met this guy really did create his own empire. He has a company called Rapid Realty, which is like one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. And so that man, look him up, Anthony Lawley. He has a book called The Heart of the Deal. Big real estate guy. And his story is just powerful. It can help anybody in the real estate business or just even entrepreneur lifestyle. Anybody can get something from him. And then moving on to people like, there's a woman who has a book coming out in the next week and a half. Her name is Olga, it's a Russian name. Selak, I believe is how you actually say it.
Okay.
Olga Selak. And what she does is she's a midlife crisis expert. So all these women are going through these midlife crises that she's finding in this world, and she's able to help them turn that midlife crisis into a midlife crisis awakening, and that's the title of her book.
Wow.
She's doing amazing things in Arizona, and obviously overseas, and in Russia, and all over the United States. She's changing these women's lives. So meeting people like that, hearing her background of how it all came to be, going through an 18-year-old marriage, and then it all falling apart, starting over from zero with nothing, and then going after and helping other people who went through the exact same thing. That's another name. Guy named Steve Rollins. He's a coach based out of I think he's in Oklahoma right now. Yeah, he's in Oklahoma, and he's a coach. He had a trucking business. 1983 was a trucker. Somehow he got the money to start his own trucking company, and he became a millionaire by the age of by the year 2008. This guy was just a trucker turned into a millionaire because he made the right connections with the right people, and he sold the company and started traveling all over the United States. Hearing that story, you've never heard of this guy ever, but helping him bring his story to life is to show you these blue-collar people who come from humble beginnings can do some amazing things, and it just takes the right person and in front of the right audience for people to really see what they can really do. And
Sure.
now his book's in libraries, and it's phenomenal stuff.
Wow, that's incredible. So I did want to talk about that, your hashtag. Did you create that, started from zero? I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Trademarked it, and hashtag started from zero. Well, that's the hashtag. It's actually started from zero, which is the apparel line. You look at shirts and hats. And when I started putting it out there, it really was just kind of, it wasn't like, this is it, this is the tagline, you know? It was just basically, how do I differentiate me from all the other entrepreneurs out there? And you're able to see that there's a lot of entrepreneurs, do some digging. You'll be able to find out that they most likely come from money and connections, that have these, right out of the gate, they have a lot of followers, a lot of likes. A lot of that is kind of a facade. So if you look deep enough, you'll be able to see that maybe they live in California and they come from money, and so they have a little bit of an advantage over other people. So if I can differentiate myself in some way, how could I get the people who come from a background like me? Well, started from zero. That's exactly where I come from. Started my own empire. $0, zero money, zero connections. So I put that out there is really just to say, hey, I'm different than everyone else. But what happened was people saw that and they say, you know what? I did the exact same thing, or I'm doing the exact same thing. So that in itself is like their powerful message. They're using that as a way to differentiate themselves from other people too. Because that message alone, by showing where you come from and you're doing this on your own, is just truly incredible, and you can inspire a lot more people when they know your backstory, which is all DreamStarters is about.
Sure, I love it. So what does the mindset of started from zero mean for you? Because a lot of successful people, like you said, they talk about how that what happened to them or maybe their beginning served them and didn't sever them from success. So talk to me about your mindset and how you used it as a way to serve you.
It's the underdog mentality, all right? I'm a 5'7.5" guy, a shorter guy. I've always had the underdog mentality. So it's that, hey man, I've been through a lot worse than you. I know I can take it. If we ever get into a battle in life, I just know deep down inside I have the grit, the ability to overcome many different obstacles. It's just the outsider mentality. Entrepreneurs, I think, by nature are outsiders. We grow up in a society where they say, go get a job, listen to these people, work for a corporation. Entrepreneurs look at the world and say, you know what, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to go out and do it on my own. I'm going to try something because I believe in myself. So there has to be some type of an outsider mentality. And so starting from zero to me is really all about, number one, letting people know where you come from. I think the backstory of who you are and where you come from is just as important of what you know.
Sure.
So put that out there is important, but also showing, hey, because I come from zero, I have nothing to lose. Brian Blair has a book out there. It's called Nothing to Lose. It's the same mentality with started from zero. When you are building your own empire and legacy, what do you have to lose? You have been through so much in the past. Use that to your advantage to get further in life. And once you're there, you can always look back and say, look how far I've come.
Right. Yes, sir. Absolutely. 100%. So what motivates you? What drives you to want to help other people? Because at the end of the day, you're helping so many people to share their story. Is that your motivation? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I think the number one thing is getting phone calls from people saying, hey, a dream of mine has always been to have a book and to have my own business. And it's very difficult to say, hey, I'm going to get you a business in the next year, 2 years, because there's so many factors. But if they have a business up and running, or they're trying to get something going, what I can do is I can help them with a credibility piece that could really propel them. And what gets me out of bed, I guess, is them calling me up and saying, it's been a dream of mine and you helped me get that off my bucket list. So I'm able to do something that they've always wanted to do, no matter if they're started writing it, whether it's finished, they just don't know where to go from there, or whether they just have always wanted to do it, they just don't know where to begin. That piece of, 20 years from now, this is an asset. These books, I don't think you can see this because it's a podcast, but these books are assets. This is going to be here 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. I don't care. It's a tangible item. And there's a woman who said to me 2 days ago, hey, I'm doing this. because of my aunt. She always wanted me to have a book. She's 87, so I want to get this book done before she dies, so she sees this. And to hear that stuff, I mean,
Wow.
that's unbelievable.
That's
to
incredible.
Me. And just to help her get it off, off the list, but also get it out in the open, and not only just helping them. This book doesn't just help the authors; it helps everyone who reads it and sees it. And once it gets attention to that author, the author really can help other people.
Sure.
So it's really an amazing, momentous, powerful tool that, once you put it out there, so many good things are going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, for myself, I manage personal training departments and help turn training departments around. And for me, it's a motivation because I know that every trainer that I help to be better, they're an extension of me, and the lives that they change, I have my hand on that trainer's shoulder, and therefore I have my hand on that client's shoulder as well. So I know exactly what you mean about being able to really grow wide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they don't know who you are, you can't help them.
Sure.
And I don't care who you. There's a man named Jesse Singh. I don't know if he's listening right now or later, but this man lost his arm in a train accident in New York City years ago, 11, 12 years ago. And if people don't know what he's gone through, there's no way that they're going to be able to listen to him, but also gain something from him. And he's been through such hell, but he has so much wisdom now because of it. That information, I don't really believe our lives are just our lives. Our lives, we're vehicles. Put our information out there to help others. This world is based off of stories, and if you communicate your story in a most effective manner, so much good can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for you? Where do you want to take this? What is the next goal for yourself, Mike?
I would say that what I want to get into is obviously my goal is probably to help. We're right around 50-some authors right now in the past year. So we're going to be shooting for another 50 this year. I want to get to 100 authors helped by the end of 2018. And once we get to that point, what we're going to be doing is taking this on on the road, and we're going to be doing a Started From Zero seminar. So I want to go around and travel to different cities. I'm already starting to travel to different events like 10X Growth Con, which is in about 15 days now.
Yep.
And I want to start traveling and meeting my clients face to face. I never get to meet them face to face. Sometimes I travel to New York, and obviously I was planned to see you, but it just got crazy. I'm trying to get out and meet people, and I think our Started From Zero seminar, which will help entrepreneurs, no matter where you come from, get off the ground, whether it's going to be through a book or something else. I just want to give them a conduit, into real estate seminars. So we have so many authors that have these amazing different programs that if we could just connect the dots from people who are lost to these people who figured it out, a lot of good things will happen for both parties, and I think that we can connect the dots there. So that's where I'm taking it with the Started From Zero seminar, probably in the next, by 2019, 2020.
I love it. I love it. So anybody that's listening to this podcast right now, they like what they hear, they feel inspired, maybe deep down inside, they always thought about wanting to write a book, because I know that's what I thought, and that's what prompted me to want to reach out to you. How do they get in touch with you, Mike?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is we're the DreamStarters book marketing experts, and we offer different coaching programs, I guess you could say, in the very beginning of how to do it. Now we just do it for you. So it's DreamStartersUniversity.com. DreamStartersUniversity.com. That's my website. Obviously, I'm on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook. That's where I get most of my, connections. That's where my network is. My name is Mike Fallat. That's Fallat. Look me up. Or on Instagram, which is the Dream Starter. You're very active on Instagram, and it used to be my number one, but Facebook has taken that over.
Okay, cool. So what message do you have to send out to the audience now that's listening? What would you have told yourself, Mike, knowing what you know now? What would you have told yourself, when you were 18, 19, 20 years old?
I would tell myself, hey, man, you're going to go through a lot of shit. So much is going to be, bad mistakes, maybe bad people are going to come your way. Whatever it is, it's actually a good thing. Use it, okay? You're going to use your story. Everything you go through is going to be a way to resonate with someone in the world, okay? Put your story out there. So, take risks, go out and do amazing things, fail off, and fail very fast. And what you're going to do is take that information and use it in a way to help others, but by helping others, you're also increasing your own personal value. And when you increase your own personal value to an incredible level, people are going to be coming to you for advice. And make sure that you can, connect with them, because you've been through the shittiest of shitty days. So use everything that comes your way to your advantage. And that's our whole thing, is use your story as your competitive advantage. But also, don't forget the major piece of this. Your story is attractive. Don't hide it. Show it. But put a nice ending to it. The results of everything you went through. Yeah, I went through this, but guess what? I learned this from it. So tell it in an attractive manner. And that's why my book out there is, the new one's coming out. It's in pre-sales. Attractive Story Selling. You can check it out on Amazon. It's all about using your story as your competitive advantage, but telling it in an attractive manner to gain the most attention so you can really help people.
Yeah, I love it. I think Tony Robbins says, when you can figure out how to make the worst day of your life the best day of your life, that's when you know you're ultimately successful. And I think so much of what you just spoke about there is being able to take all of the negative and figure out a way to use it as a positive in your life. So I love it, Mike.
Sure. And Ryan, you have the same mentality as me. The only reason why I even became known with this book or with my business is because I created such urgency with this. Okay, so Tony Robbins says, if you are, I think it's Tony Robbins, it might have been Jim Rohn, you pretty much say the same things, but if you are trying to succeed as much as you're trying to breathe, like if you create that urgency somewhere in your life, you're going to figure out a way to win. And if there's no urgency, if you could just keep going through the days with, I'll figure it out tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month, nothing ever comes to light because there's no urgency. I don't need to succeed to win. I don't need to succeed to be happy. I'm just going to keep doing this. So I tell people all the time, create urgency somewhere in your life, and then, use the tools to your advantage to make sure that others hear and see you. So urgency is another big piece Tony Robbins always talks about it. And I think you're a big believer in that also.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I highly encourage all of our listeners here to find Mike on social media and to reach out to him. I can promise you this, guys. For anybody that's listening that's had any inclination about wanting to write a book, Mike is going to take care of you. He's going to help you out. He's going to guide you along the process. And I encourage everybody to reach out to Mike. Mike, I believe in what it is that you do. And hopefully this podcast helps other people to want to be inspired to take that step.
I can't wait, man. It's an honor to get to know you and obviously to be working with you. So I'm looking forward to the future and can't wait.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate you.
Take care, man. Thank you.
Oh.